first ever live performance of Glitterstim ASMR, which is the Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game ASMR channel on YouTube. We're here at Retrograde Con, which is a board game and storytelling and music, etc. Online convention put on by Twin Cities local X-Wing player Mercury Jones. So hello Mercury, thank you so much for being here and thank you for having me. My name is Andy Myers and I host Glitterstim ASMR, which is a ASMR YouTube channel, and I've been doing this for about 3 months now. And I post weekly videos about the Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game, and for those of you here who are unfamiliar with that game, it's basically one of the most popular miniatures games using tiny painted ships that you fly around on a tabletop board, and you roll dice, and there's a damage deck and maneuver templates, etc. And so, if you're familiar with other tabletop board games like 40K, etc., it's kind of like that, but in the Star Wars universe. So, today we're going to be checking out the quick start rules. So if you're unfamiliar with the game, you'll get a sense of how the game is played. And I'll also be showing off some of the various components that you would use while playing this game. So let's dive right in. I have included the Quick Start Rules PDF into the text channel in the Discord that Retrograde Con is being held on. So I'll give you a moment to head over to that text channel, the announcements channel, and you can find that 4-page PDF. We're just going to be looking at the first 2 pages, so here we go. Star Wars X-Wing Quick Start Rules. This Quick Start Guide teaches you the fundamental rules of the 2nd edition of Star Wars X-Wing, so you can start playing immediately. Read pages 1 through 2, then start your first game. Once you are comfortable, read pages 3 through 4 and add their rules to your game. Okay, here we go. Ship assembly. To assemble the ships for your first game, punch out the ship tokens named Blue Squadron Escort, Academy Pilot, and Black Squadron Ace. Punch out the dial front and backs for the T-65 X-Wing and the 2 TIE LN fighters. Punch out ID tokens numbered 1 through 3. Then perform the following steps to prepare your ships for play. Number 1. Place the ship token on a base with its firing arc oriented over the chevron in the base. Number 2. Insert 1 peg into the tower of the base. Number 3. Insert the 2nd peg into the top of the 1st peg. Number 4. Insert the small peg on the bottom of the plastic ship figure into the 2nd peg. Number 5. Place the ID tokens in the slots on the base. Use ID tokens numbered 1 for the T-65 X-Wing and 2 and 3 for the 2 TIE LN fighters. Maneuver dial assembly. Assemble each dial as shown. Connect the dial back to the dial front marked with T-65. Then connect the dial backs to the dial fronts marked with TF. Setup. Follow steps 1 through 7 in this diagram to set up your first game of X-Wing. Number 1. Clear a 3-foot by 3-foot square space as a play area. Number 2. Place the red attack dice and green defense dice and the damage deck in reach of both players. Number 3. Place the maneuver templates and range ruler in reach of both players. Number 4. Place the 3 asteroids and 3 debris clouds into the play area as indicated. Number 5. Place the Academy Pilot and Black Squadron Ace ship cards and 2 TIE LN fighter dials on the Imperial player's side. Number 6, choose one player to be the rebel player. Place the blue squadron escort ship card, T65 X-Wing dial, and 2 shields on the rebel player's side. Number 7, place the T65 X-Wing ship in the play area near the rebel player's side, and place the TIE LN fighter ships in the play area near the Imperial player's side as indicated. Overview. X-Wing is played over a series of rounds. Players should read this page and then start playing their first few rounds. They can add the advanced rules on pages 3 and 4 when they feel comfortable. During each round, players use dials to secretly choose maneuvers for their ships, reveal and execute those maneuvers, and attack with their ships. Number 1, planning phase. Each player secretly chooses a maneuver for each of their ships. The maneuver determines where that ship will move during the next phase. To select a maneuver for a ship, the player rotates the ship's dial until the arrow points at the desired maneuver. Then the player places it face down in the play area next to that ship. After all ships have a secret maneuver, proceed to the activation phase. Until players are comfortable enough to incorporate the advanced rules, players should only select maneuvers that are white or blue. So if you can see in this diagram, that little white arrow at the top is the selection arrow. If the 2-bank maneuver is selected, the ship will use the 2-bank template to move. Number 2, activation phase. Starting with the ship that has the lowest initiative, the orange number on the ship's card and token, and continuing in ascending order, each ship moves by executing the maneuver on its dial. So you can see there's an orange 2 on this X-Wing card, so the initiative value on a ship card is 2. To execute a ship's maneuver, the ship's dial is revealed, so you flip it over. The template corresponding to the revealed maneuver is placed in front of the ship, snugly between the front guides. Then the ship is picked up and placed on the other end of the template, with the rear guides snugly against the template. After a ship executes a maneuver, it can perform an action, but players should ignore this step unless using the advanced rules. After all ships execute their maneuvers, proceed to the engagement phase. Number 3, engagement phase. Starting with the ship with the highest initiative and counting in descending order, each ship performs an attack. To perform an attack, use the range ruler to determine if there are any ships in the attacker's front firing arc. The firing arc is the area created by extending the lines on ship token to the end of the range ruler. If there is a ship in this area, the attacking player chooses one to attack. And I brought along my range ruler here so you can see kind of how long that is. So here's kind of the range 3, and it would be close if it was at range 1 over here. Okay. The TIE fighters marked with the green check mark are inside the X-Wing's firing arc. The ones marked with a red X are outside the arc, so the X-Wing cannot attack them. Asteroids and debris clouds can affect attacks, but players should ignore them unless they are using the advanced rules. To perform an attack, the attacker rolls a number of attack dice, red, equal to the attack value on the attacking ship's card. Then the defender rolls defense dice, green, equal to the agility value on the defending ship's card. Each squiggle with the dot, which is an evade symbol, rolled removes one die showing a hit, which looks like a filled-in asterisk. If there are no more hit results, it removes one critical value instead. A critical looks like an asterisk with a empty circle in the middle. Ignore eyeball results unless using the advanced rules. So this diagram, with this roll, the two evade results cancel one hit and one critical result, leaving only one critical result remaining. For each hit and critical remaining, the defender loses one shield token, flipping it to the inactive side. If it does not have a shield remaining, it is dealt a damage card instead. So you can see the blue side is active and the red side is inactive. Damage cards are placed face down next to the defender's ship card. A ship is destroyed when it has a number of damage cards equal to its yellow hull value. After all ships have attacked, start a new round, beginning with the planning phase. Alright, so that's the first couple pages of the quick start rules. So you should have a good idea of how X-Wing miniatures is played. So, speaking of miniatures, let's take a look at some of the miniatures themselves. I brought with me a handful of different ones, and as we saw in the quick start rules, one of the most iconic ships of Star Wars is the X-Wing. So I brought here a T-65 X-Wing, and as you can see, it's really finely detailed with paint, and so this particular model is a second edition model, which means that the wings close, which I think is a really neat change that they made from the first edition into the second edition. So the wings articulate, open and close, and that actually is an effect within the game. If your wings are closed, the X-Wing T-65 can boost forward, going a little faster. And when they're open, they're in attack formation, which means they roll extra red dice. So that's the T-65. Another one that you, even if you're not a big Star Wars fan, you've probably seen this ship, and this is the Millennium Falcon. And so this particular model is incredibly detailed. As you can see, we've got the little dish there, and we've got the cockpit over here, right? And one of the things that really drew me to Star Wars X-Wing, not only am I a big Star Wars fan, but also it's one of the few miniatures games that comes pre-built and painted. So I'm kind of a lazy gamer, and I just wanted to be able to purchase the ship and fly it right away without having to deal with learning how to effectively paint miniatures or use glue and tweezers and put the miniatures together. So anyways, that's what's great about Star Wars X-Wing is all the miniatures come painted. Now for those of you who are gaming miniatures enthusiasts and actually enjoy the painting process, that's encouraged as well. I brought with me a ship you may recognize from the Star Wars Clone Wars TV series, which was an animated series. And this is the YV666 Houndstooth, painted like Moby Dick. So I had one of my talented visual artist friends paint this ship for me. And so normally it's just kind of a flat brown color with some shading details and such, and so he painted up to have this little eye here, this red and yellow, orange eye, and then this gaping maw. This giant whale ship is coming for you. I also really like the little detail up here with the orange nostrils. So yeah, this is my Moby Dick themed YV666 ship. So if you like painting models, that's certainly an option. They also have different factions within the game. So if you identify with the Rebels or the Empire, you can fly different ships themed like that. So the X-Wing and the Millennium Falcon are based on the Rebel faction from the original trilogy. There's the Empire. There's also the new movies, such as The Resistance and The First Order. There are also Scum, which are Scum and Villainy, which is the faction that includes like Boba Fett and the Bounty Hunters, and that's where the IV-666 ship comes from. And so they also recently introduced the prequel movies, such as the Galactic Republic, which is like the Jedi, and then the Separatists, which are the droids and such. And so I brought with me a couple of those. So here's the Naboo starfighter from the prequel movies. Little baby Anakin flies this in the first prequel movie, and so he tries spinning. That's a neat trick. And as you can see on the bottom, all the X-Wing ships have these little pegs. When the Quick Start Rules was talking about the peg on the bottom of the ship, that's what they're talking about. And so you just plug that into another peg, and then it's on the base, and you fly it around that way. And also, I brought with me some of those Roger droid, Vulture droid ships. And so this little guy is pretty delicate. But I'll kind of zoom in here. So this is a Vulture droid. So pretty neat. Alright, so those are some of the miniatures. We also talked about, there was a brief mention about the damage deck, and that's how you keep track of the different, whether a ship is still alive or it's been damaged, etc. So I brought with me my Rebel-themed damage deck. So this particular deck, it has 33 cards, and so this is an ASMR stream, so we're gonna be doing some card sounds for a moment. Some of these cards. So when you just take a regular hit, you suffer it face down, which is just counting against your hull. It doesn't have any additional effects. But some of the time when you suffer a critical damage, you flip it face up, and you read whatever the text is, and you suffer that effect. So in this case, this is a direct hit card, which means you would suffer 1 additional damage. Let's see, this card is Panicked Pilot, which means that you would receive 2 stress tokens, which we didn't really talk about, but that would be if you flew your ship with a red maneuver, which was stressful, you would take a stress, and it stops you from performing actions. That's in the advanced rules. Let's see what else we've got. There's also this card called Blinded Pilot, which means that you aren't able to adjust your attack dice unless you are using the Force, which is kind of a unique ability to 2nd edition. They introduced the Force into the game, which is very iconic for Star Wars. Alright, I also brought with me another damage deck, so you can see kind of how big and small these cards are. So I brought with me a large damage deck, and this is one of the promo damage decks that was given out at the release of 2nd edition. So if you pre-ordered your copy of the core set of 2nd edition, you got a damage deck that has, it's just bigger. I'll show you the size comparison. This is the standard size, and this is the promo size. So you can see the promo size is much bigger. And these ones are cool because they have little diagrams of the ship and where it would be suffering that critical damage. So in this case, the weapons failure, where you would roll 1 fewer attack die on your attack, it would affect the T-65 X-Wings lasers there. So another example, that Blinded Pilot card that we talked about earlier, this would affect your pilot here in the cockpit. So that's the full-size damage deck. Get a little bit more ASMR card shuffling here. Okay, This is my tournament box that I bring with me when I go play X-Wing. It's got this orange and black themed Resistance logo, which is very similar to it's the Rebel logo, it's just different color schemed. And so this was a 3D printed item that I'm going to kind of scrape a little bit to give you some examples of some ASMR sounds of this 3D printed sound. Okay, so I'm going to pop this open. It's held on by these magnets, as you can see underneath here. And so some of the things that they talked about, excuse me, are the maneuver templates. So that's how you move your ship around. So here's an example of some maneuver templates. I'm going to tilt them up so that they don't spill out. But so for example, we've got the 2 bank that was mentioned in the quick start rules, and as you can see, it's kind of a soft turn and points your ship 45 degrees. From if you started here and you ended here, your ship would be facing 45 degrees one way, and you can tell it's a 2 because it's got these 2 pips here. These are promotional acrylic ones, and so they're a nice solid acrylic, and these ones are some promotional ones that I got at a tournament, and they're based on the different, the paint schemes are based on the different paint schemes of the helmets from Star Wars A New Hope, the X-Wing pilots from the first movie. So all of the templates look a little different. I'll show you the straights, those are a little bit easier to see, all the different kinds. So I really like these templates just because of how thematic they look. And so here's the 1 straight token, and it has these little hash marks. So in advanced rules, when you're performing a barrel roll, you need to line your ship up with these lines on the back. And we talked about the range ruler. So this is a range 3 ruler here. So we've got range 1, 2, and 3 here. And so if your ship is close to the defending ship, if you're attacking, you would roll 1 additional red die. And if your ship is far away and you're defending, you would roll 1 additional green die if you're out here at range 3. Okay, so those are the templates and the range rulers. Speaking of dice, this is my dice bag that I made. It's got a bunch of little porgs on it, as you can see. And I like the Resistance factions. I've got the orange ribbon here. And we've also got our buddy R2-D2 hanging out there amongst the porgs. So this is my dice bag, and so if you're a board gamer here at Retrograde Con, you're very familiar with these sounds. This is the sound of dice. So these are my X-Wing dice here. And so I'll show you the attack dice. This is a red dice, so it has 2 blank sides. It's an 8-sided die. And so you've got 2 of these blank sides. You've got 2 of these eyeball sides or focus sides. It's if your pilot is really focused, they can change a eyeball result to one of the 3 hit sides, which again looks like kind of a filled in asterisk. So there are 3 of those sides, and there is 1 critical side, which is the asterisk with the hollow circle in the middle there, as you can see. So that's the critical result. So that's the red dice when you're attacking. And then we also have green dice. And so there are 3 blank green dice sides. And they also have 2 of those eyeball results, the focus results. So if your pilot is focused and has a focus token, you can change it to an evade, which is that squiggle with the dot in it, right? And there are 3 of these evade sides per green die. Okay, so those are the dice that you would see in the game of X-Wing. We'll also show you some of the pegs and the dials. So give me a moment here. So this is a medium ship base, and this is a small ship base, and they also have large ship bases, which is basically 2 of these small ones stacked on top of each other. And the little pegs kind of look like this, and they usually come in clear, but you can get different colored ones. And so the pegs fit into. I'll see if I can do this by the microphone. So they fit into the base there, and then you plop your ship on top, and I'll show you one of the ships that is in this game. So this is from the Scum faction I mentioned earlier. This is the bounty hunter Boba Fett in his Slave 1 fire spray ship here. And so, as you can see, it just sits on top of the peg here. And we talked about the maneuver templates fitting snugly into the front guides, which are these little nubs, as you can see on the ship base here. Alright, and so you maneuver your ship around the board, and it attacks out the front firing arc. This ship is also special because it has, see how it's shaded in the back here, this orange shading. It can shoot out the back too. So another incredibly detailed model, as you can see. Okay, so another ship that's featured in the Scum faction that I fly is this Fang Fighter, which was also featured in the Clone Wars TV series. And this is Fenrao's ship from the Clone Wars. And so these ones also, the wings move side to side, which is a really cool feature of 2nd edition. And so it's got the little peg on the bottom, as you can see. So that's the Fang Fighter. Okay, so we've talked about the dial. Oh, here is a dial, and this is a dial for the Fang Fighter. It's got the little Scum logo here, as you can see. This was in the Scum faction. And so on the backside you have all of the different maneuvers that your ship can perform. And so some of them are colored blue, as you can see down here. These are blue maneuvers, which would clear your stress. And the red maneuvers, like this 4K, and these two Talon rolls, where you turn your ship 180 degrees. Those would give you stress. And then there's some white maneuvers as well. And there's the little arrow at the top of the dial that when if I wanted to select a 2 straight, I would maneuver the 2 straight right below that little arrow. And then when it was my turn to activate, I would reveal the dial and show my opponent it's a 2 straight, and then I would move that ship that 2 straight. Okay. We talked in the quick start rules about how there are debris fields and asteroids. Another recent addition to the game, to the board state, is they introduced gas clouds. So here are some other obstacles. And these are made out of cardboard. So the gas clouds, they offer a little bit more defensive capabilities. You can change a blank green result into an evade, and they, if you fly through them, you might accidentally roll fewer green dice, so you don't want to fly through these. XWing, we have various tokens that we use to dictate or to showcase the board state. So if a pilot is stressed after doing a red maneuver, or if they are strained by flying through a gas cloud, or if they're focused, we talked about focus in that eyeball result, we use various tokens. So here's my little token case. I'm going to rattle these tokens around for a moment. And so when I go play X-Wing in person, I bring along my little X-Wing Star Wars themed lunchbox Christmas ornament that my mother-in-law got me, that I turned into a token case. So we've got the Star Wars on the front, and the Tatooine scene, the Mos Eisley scene on the back where they're getting interrogated. And then on the sides we've got like Vader and Luke and Leia and R2-D2 and C-3PO. And yeah, so this is a pretty cool little box that opens up just like a real lunchbox, and it contains all of my various tokens that I would need. Oh, I dropped a few. That's okay. So some of the tokens that you would utilize, we talked about earlier, are shield tokens. So this is a shield token, and the ones that come in the core set are cardboard, but this is an acrylic one that you can get from various vendors on Etsy. So this is the active side, which is white, and then the inactive side, as we talked about earlier, which is red. So this is a shield token. We also talked a lot about focuses, right? So what are some focus tokens? Let me find one for a moment. So focus tokens look like this, and they have the little eyeball symbol on them. And actually this is the focus token, the singular acrylic token that I got from my friend Mercury, who's hosting Retrograde Con. He gave me this when I attended a local tournament that he puts on. When we could meet in person, I would frequent Tower Games in South Minneapolis, which is close to Mercury's house, and Mercury organized a weekly event called Force Church, because it was on Sundays and we would practice the Force, right? And so if you attended, you would get a token, and so I got this exact focus token for Mercury, so I wanted to make sure I included that in our video today. So thank you again, Mercury, for this token. Okay, we also, in this game, there might be bombs that are dropped. So this is a acrylic seismic charge, which is a bomb that blows up one of those asteroids or debris or gas clouds and damages nearby ships. So this is a bomb token. We also talked a lot about stress, and so I have some of my fan-made stress tokens here. If you're a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you'll appreciate this token. It says, "Don't panic," and it's got the exclamation point, which in X-Wing, the red exclamation point means you are stressed. So that's some that I got there. We also talked a little bit about the Force. So when you get the blinded pilot, you can only affect your attack dice using the Force. And so this is a fan-made Force token. It's based on the Sith logo, the dark side of the Force symbol. And so we've got our little Twin Cities X-Wing TCX at the top there. And then on the bottom, these were made for Tower Games for our weekly event called, see if you can see it there, it says Force Church. It's a little backwards right now, but yeah, Force Church right there. And so this would be the active side, and then on the back we have the inactive side. So thank you again, Mercury, for coordinating the Force Church acrylic tokens. There's also charges such as these little astromech charge tokens. So we've got ships and upgrades you're flying. Well, in the X-Wing game, in the Quick Start rules, they briefly mentioned the pilot card, which has all the numbers, the different colored numbers that talk about your initiative and how many attack dice you roll and defense dice and your hull and shields and such. So I brought with me my the cards that I was using in the most recent tournament that I went to, and so this was the list that I brought. So we talked a little bit about Boba Fett. So I'll show you my Boba Fett card here. So there are two different kinds of cards that go along in X-Wing with when you're talking about what you're flying. You've got the pilot card. Okay, so this is a fan art. It's one of my favorite fan arts, alt art cards, because it's got this really beautiful watercolor effect. And so that's Boba Fett there. And so he's got this orange 5, which means his initiative value is 5. And that's pretty good because it only goes up to 6. It goes from 0 to 6 normally. And there is a way to get to initiative 7. And if you're playing in epic mode, which is where you use some huge ships, there's initiative 8. But typically it's 0 to 6. So 5 is pretty good. So he's usually moving towards the end so he can see where everybody's gone, and he can kind of boost away or boost in closer if need be. And then he gets to shoot first because you shoot in descending order from highest to lowest. Okay, and then we've got this red 3 attack value, which means he rolls 3 attack dice, 2 green dice, 2 defense dice. He has 6 hull, so he has to take 6 damage cards before it dies, and 4 blue, which is 4 shields on the fire spray. So I got this card from the X-Wing crew out of Philadelphia. See, we've got the Liberty Bell. That's their logo. And I got this card at the last World Championships when I met up with a bunch of players from Philadelphia. So they were kind enough to give me this really beautiful Boba Fett card. And then there are also upgrade cards. So I'll show you some of the upgrade cards. Boba Fett obviously flies in the Slave 1, which is the title of the fire spray, and it allows you to change your maneuver dial when it's your turn, which is really effective. One of the few ships in the game that can do that. So you can see where the lower initiative ships have gone, and then you can change your dial to do that. We talked about bombs earlier, and this is that seismic charge. So this is a bomb card that during the system phase you can drop a bomb. So it comes with 2 charges. That's what this little yellow 2 means. There's that kind of lightning bolt symbol, means charges. So you can use that card twice. And let's check out. I also showed you my Fenrao card, or pilot. This is the alt art fan-made Fenrao card, and I really like this card because it's made out of. It's a metal card, so it's very shiny, and you can see the little Scum and Villainy logo down here, and Fenn's initiative. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a 6, so he's usually moving last and shooting first. But he's kind of an ace pilot, so he doesn't have a lot of hull. He's only got 4 hull, but he rolls 3 attack dice and 3 agility, 3 green dice, so he's harder to hit. And this is actually a double-sided fan-made card. So you've got the metal on the back side as well, and this is the rebel symbol. And so Fenrao is also a rebel pilot, although he flies a different ship. As you can see, the little diagram here is different. He flies the Sheath of Bead, but is also initiative 6. So that's Fenrao from the Clone Wars TV series. Okay. So those are the cards that you would use to show your opponent and yourself, like, which list you are flying. So there's no confusion. There's no secret cards or abilities. All the information is right there on the table. That's it for this live performance of Glitterstim ASMR. I appreciate everybody here sticking around and listening. I know it's the end of the night. It's about 11:45 right now, so I appreciate you relaxing after a long day of board games and storytelling and music. Thank you so much, Mercury, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to perform this silly Glitterstim ASMR project live for viewers. I'll be sticking around after the stream here if you'd like to ask any questions about X-Wing miniatures or this absurd art project called Glitterstim ASMR. I'm happy to answer any questions. So I'm going to sign off now, and then I'll give you a few moments and I'll quietly start to use my normal voice again so people can transition into speaking again. So I always